Cody, your thoughts on
Can you
that?
repeat the question?
Does the DEP have a budget that permits enough hiring of inspectors needed to protect or to monitor environmental issues around Marcellus Shale?
Not really. There's not enough. And I'm the first person to tell you I don't want more government employees and more bureaucracy. But I have to agree, we have to take the money that we're getting from some of this. And there's a lot of money we're receiving from the state that we don't talk about. Look at the state game lands. When they start to drill the state game lands, we're going to receive royalties from it. Where's the state going to spend that money? What are they going to use it on? We need to have these individuals. We need to have more people approving permits, and we need to ensure the environmental impact is lessened. Thank you.
Let's turn to another issue now. How would you address the issue? Oh, let's see, this is Cody, you're first on this one. How would you address the issue of school funding?
Pennsylvania's been overtaxing people with property taxes for years. I used to live on an 80-acre farm. And even though you get some advantages by land not being with houses and issues like that, it drives farmers out of being farming. Thank goodness for Marcellus Shale, because at least now those people can make money off their land. We constantly have funded education the wrong way, and we've created a bloated bureaucracy, not with teachers. Teachers, we have wonderful teachers, but many times I came from a school district where money was wasted on Taj Mahal buildings and what we're going to spend on renovation. I mean, you look at Trinity and you look at something like Trinity South and the constant expenditure of money, and you have to ask yourself, how do we correct this? Do we do it by putting more money into it, or do we actually start fixing the problem internally so that we can get the taxes under control? Government waste, and it's one of the things we exposed in the Amwell Water Authority, the waste of government money and the waste of tax dollars.
Brandon, school funding, but do you have also ideas for reducing the reliance on property taxes? I think everyone would agree that that's not working very well, but do you have other ideas?
Once again, we put barriers up around Pennsylvania. There's 49 other states out there. They've either tried something that we're going to do and implemented it, or didn't implement it. That means it's not going to work. Or if they did implement it, they may change. If you look at West Virginia, they changed their pension program from a defined contribution benefit program. A couple years later, they changed it back because it wasn't working. We need to allow the local governments more opportunities. Right now, their only opportunity to raise revenue is property taxes. They say, the numbers say that if you allow a sales tax, 1% sales tax for the county, that will alleviate 50% of people's property taxes. But the local government doesn't have that power. The legislator needs to change that. Right now, they only can rely on property taxes. There's other opportunities for revenue that Pennsylvania doesn't allow. And if you look at a state such as Florida, they do have a sales tax. And weekends on the year for locals, they allow tax-free weekends so that the locals can go and they can spend things tax-free and buy things tax-free. So there are ways to generate revenue, but they're not allowed. The legislator needs to change that so that it increases opportunities for the commissioners to allow for alternative revenue. Thank you.
Thank you. So you'll get the first go on this next one, which is kind of a follow-up. Locally, nonprofit organizations like hospitals and colleges are buying up land and therefore not paying taxes, costing residents' taxes to go up. What could be done to fix this?
One way that you can look at this, and I'm not in favor of taxing nonprofits per se, but if a nonprofit such as UPMC is buying a piece of property in, for example, Monroeville, to generate profit, we're talking about an $8 billion nonprofit organization. I mean, give me a break. If they are buying property to generate revenue, they should be taxed like you. If they are not buying property to generate revenue, such as churches, such as other organizations, then they shouldn't be taxed. Thank you.
I've lost my way. Okay, Cody, I have a little note to ask you to speak a little louder, please.
I absolutely agree with Brandon on that. The use should determine whether the taxes, whether the property is taxed. We do that with churches. We allow, when someone lives in a parsonage, the parsonage gets taxed, but the church building doesn't. We don't do it with hospitals because they have too much political power. We don't do it with colleges whenever they hand out properties to be used for other purposes, like they're making money off of student housing that isn't necessary for education. The last time I looked, I can actually go to a college and not have to live there. So that should be taxed. The problem is, and I'll give Brandon credit, give everybody credit, clapped on that. The problem is we all know what really happens. You stand up to the colleges, stand up to hospitals, you stand up to it, you get a host of political pressure. Those people aren't sitting in this room right now. They put donations out and they use it against anyone who gets in their way. Anyone who's ever been in the city of Washington knows when you stand up to W&J, what happens to you. They come after you. And it's very subtle. The public doesn't see it, but they move money and all of a sudden you have opponents and you're out of office. I'm happy to hear that because Mr. Solvay, of course, does want to tax nonprofits. So I'm happy someone's saying no to it. Thank you.
Okay, Cody, you'll get the first try on this one. Considering the financial problems facing the taxpayers, what is your position on reducing the perks afforded elected officials? For example, free cars, fuel, insurance, etc.
State Senator Kim Ward told me what she does with her per diem, which actually makes sense. Okay, you have to stay in a hotel. Why don't you have direct reimbursement? Why don't you actually reimburse the amount that's being spent instead of handing these people money where they can manipulate it and use it? We have a state legislator in this county, Pete Daly, who got from KDK, got the Taking Full Advantage Award because he took advantage of the per diem. He was second in every single perk that you could get. Never first, always second on misusing tax dollars. That has to stop. I remember a joke Bill DeWeese once said at the time, just standing around in private saying, why would I ever run for Congress? I'm taking a pay cut. There's something wrong there. It has to change. It goes back to why do people run? Do they want to run to be somebody special, or do they run to do the work and do the job? Unfortunately, too many of these people are running to be somebody versus running to do the work.
Brandon, your thoughts on reducing the perks?
I believe that perks are not part of the job. Expenditures are. Obviously, staying somewhere in Harrisburg, that's an expense. Now, if you turn in your expenditures and now that's all you take, the rest of that money goes into the general fund. What I'm prepared to do is to take the per diems, and I'm prepared to set up a scholarship foundation to bring it local until per diems end. I want to make sure that each 5 school districts in 48th district gets some sort of scholarship. I don't think the money should stay in Harrisburg because it's going to be spent somewhere else. We can use that money, we can bring it back locally, and the expenditures, the per diems are going to be in the thousands. That's going to be an opportunity for 10 kids or even more to buy books every year for their college education. So that's what I'm prepared to do, is take the money from Harrisburg and bring it local.
Okay.